Welcome everyone to Politically High Tech with your host Elias. I have a guest here, and I'll consider him an antidote, especially for those lovely. And this it goes both ways. I tend to be biased against the young sometimes. I used to be young myself, so that's somewhat hypocritical. Oh well, sue me for my hypocrisy. It's not illegal, okay? You can just call me out. It's fine. I'm probably gonna ignore you anyways, unless you have something very constructive to say. If you're saying your mama's so blank, 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 I'm keeping this clean here, we have problems. But I see it both ways. Sometimes parents don't know how to deal with them, so there's going to be an antidote for that to communicate, especially the parent side, and deal with these very complicated preteen teenagers going through emotional issues, identity issues. What have I mean? I've been there. Mr. Higgs here has been there. And there's a certain way to communicate with them. I don't know what it is. Miraculously, it worked with half the preteens I talked to. It was by sheer luck. But it's got to be a method, right? You don't want to rely on luck. No, that's so cruel. But we have a more practical way to handle it. Mostly Mr. Higgs here. Let me take all the credit. He came up with his whole show up framework, and I read the acronyms. I think it's great. You should toot his horn on that one. And with that, I'm going to let him introduce himself.
Hello, Elias. Hello, audience. Thank you for sharing your platform. And yeah, as Elias was talking, I came up with a framework called the Show Up Framework. We'll talk about it. And actually, Elias, this I feel is human development. I do focus on preteens and parents of preteens because they're the most influential ones at that point in life. And this point in life is actually very important. We can get into that also. But what I speak about is human development, which is very relevant for politically high tech situations. Politics is the ability for us to come together as people, the populace, right? And actually, high tech technology is just innovation of this time, and innovation of this time is a big part to why we see the uptick in mental well-being or the lack thereof, attention, and what human development is in this day and age. We can go as deep as you want to in regards to what social media is doing to our brains and as we're relating together as people. So I came up with a show framework, and thank you for sharing your platform and welcoming me here.
No problem. One of my mission here, people, was to bring different people of color. I'm going to try to avoid using minorities because I begin to think it's offensive. We're humans.
Different people is cool too. Yeah.
Or BIPOC. The acronym thing I've become allergic to it because my day job, I use so much of it, and I'm such a hypocrite that I can't stand it. But I start talking through it. But that's just my personal right. Yeah.
Sure. The way I say it is, I was speaking about what I do. And myself, I am a, if you will, third culture kid. My mom's from the Philippines. My dad's from the Bahamas. I've taught in South Korea, Thailand, Spain, and Saudi Arabia. And I come from a very, very multicultural background. And I was explaining what I do. And the woman said, that sounds like a lot of DEI or diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I was just like, call it whatever you sound like. It sounds like being human to me. And I mean, when you have more varied points of views and perspectives, you have a better understanding of something. So use whatever language, whatever words the audience wants to use. But the truth is, just more perspective means more understanding.
No, exactly. You don't have to be DEI. Just have multiple perspectives. Just have a freaking open mind. And, sometimes I criticize DEI work because it's too shallow the way it's been implemented, especially in corporate culture. And I've been a part of it. And I reject some of it. I've been considered difficult. That's okay. I don't care because it's just so superficial how it's been implemented. You're not addressing some of the issues, but I'm not going to get into that. It's not about me.
Hey.
It's about how you parents could deal with that difficult preteen. And I'm going to be honest, deal with your difficult self. Okay, sometimes you're the difficult one. It's not the preteen, all right? And it's like you said, it's human development. So, All right, I'm gonna just keep it short. I want to make this about you. You're the important one here. They heard my
It's
voice
all
many
good. It's all
times.
good, man. Your voice is welcomed on your own show, and thank you for being for allowing me to be here too. Yeah.
Yeah,
What's
so
up?
I think first question we're gonna come up with is just set the little playing field. How can parents maintain an open dialogue with the preteens, teenagers that want to pull back and be independent? I think that's a very good question. Because I
Yeah.
don't want to hang out with this parent. Oh, this parent's a boomer. I don't want to hang out with them. It's so embarrassing. I'm sure you go through some of that. And I think social media even amplifies that. So,
Yeah. I mean, even before there was social media, that's just indicative of this age. And when you understand why preteens or teenagers are like that, it'll make sense to you. And then two, you'll learn not to take it personally. So when you understand what's happening from 0 to let's say 9, when they're dependent on you to meet their needs. They're coming into adolescence at this age between 10 and 14. And adolescence is signified by a turning away and wanting to be independent. That's a natural order of things. Then when you understand everything that you told them between 0 and 9 was their worldview, that was gospel. But now when they're coming into this new era where they're starting to see their other points of views and other perspectives that are existing, skepticism starts to seep in. And they haven't worked out what nuance is, which comes later on in the developmental understanding. But with skepticism, there's mistrust there. And they're just turning to gain a better understanding of the world. So they're gathering other perspectives. So that's when they're turning away from you. Um, that turning away, some people take personally, and then there is outlashing and there is a misunderstanding of what's expected at this stage, or a misunderstanding of how to support our kid in their growth towards autonomy. As a parent, you're supposed to become a guide on the side or a coach to actually say, I'm still a safe space for you to come towards. And I want to understand your identity and you forming in that, and I'm supporting you in your autonomy. It doesn't mean you become a doormat. It doesn't mean you become permissive on the side, or passive on the side rather. It means you have to learn a new set of skills and a new way to approach it. I used to be a high school teacher, and we would say, um, you, or there's an approach to parenting called autonomy supportive parenting. And what we're focusing on now is helping the kid be more independent so that they could understand their own identity and eventually, be a contributing member to society.
oh, well, let me just join the critics for a second. Oh, safe
Talk
spaces.
to me.
He
Yeah,
is the
please.
EI. He is the EI. He's the EI. No, no,
You're all
look.
good. You're all good. I'll meet you.
No, no, no,
I'll
but
meet whatever voice is on the other side. I taught high school, so
oh, you know, I'm sure you deal with a lot of adversarial, not just the teenager students, but
it's
the
all good.
parents. Some of them are even, I would say, crazier. And I almost got into education, but I say, low risk, and definitely low reward. No, high risk, low reward. Nah, not for me. That's just me. You can say I chicken out of education system, yes, and I'm proud of it. I'm making more dough from it. So yes, call me a coward. This is an intelligent coward. I'm fine with it. But yeah, no, I'm sure that the reason why I say that is because people use these lingos and they associate certain lingos together. I
Mhm.
say you are, and to be honest, to balance my podcast, I do need perceived DEI or more pro DEI voice. I have too much anti DEI voices, so I'm fine with it per se. I've gotten used to it. My only problem is just implementation. I'm sure it could be beneficial to some extent. It's just implementation and the superficiality of it is my biggest issue. Other than that, I mean, we humans gotta learn how to be kinder to each other. We gotta learn, not just say, oh, Marcus is too dark. I don't want to talk to him, or this person's
Mhm.
too light. This person's too fat. Oh, this is a femboy. I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk to that one. I think we should separate, discriminate people by character, character,
Sure.
character, character. But that's all I'm gonna add to that. And the big thing I like to point out is not take it personally. I think I'm not surprised I wasn't answering. That's the thing I was thinking of. I was putting myself in your shoes for a second. Like, I'm going to answer this, maybe not take it personally. So I had like one piece of it right. I think that's why it worked for me sometimes because I didn't take it as personal. So, oh, I was kind of there, you know. And I'll just be like a guide, whatever. So intuitively, I had some idea, but the ones I messed up with were the ones I was not in the right headspace. It's like, I don't want to deal with this nonsense.
You
So
know,
that's just a self
another
reflection.
way,
Go ahead.
sure, sure. Another way and approach that I see it is I know the goals that I have and what I want for the future. And I find people and thoughts that are in alignment with those. And with our powers combined, sound like Captain Planet, but we go and we get it. And then if people aren't in alignment with that, then that's okay. I fully support the expression of other people, even if they're not in support with that. Because the thing is, they're going to go off in their own direction. And I support you in going off in your own direction. But if what I'm working towards is something that is binding and the well-being of you and I, yeah, let's go get it. Let's go get it. Um, and even I don't even use the word DEI. Actually, I was bringing that up because a person brought it up. But she was describing what I did as DEI, and I was just like, huh, that's interesting because I know this is what human development is. The cell breaks itself, and then it comes back together because we were dependent. We move into independence, but then at the end of it, we're in interdependence. A system is more healthy if there is interdependence. And what that means is I will take care of me to be in service to you if you promise to take care of you to be in service to me. And that's really what politics is, ideally. Um, for people who can't understand the well-being of us collectively, it may not be in alignment with what I want. And I'm just like, that's cool. I totally respect that. And you just don't move in the direction if there's no alignment, and you just acknowledge it. And you still let people hold their dignity. So that's perfectly fine. And you just get on to what you want. The question comes down to what do you want? And that's the creator question.
Yeah, that's a profound one. What is your goal? I mean, you gotta be focused on because when you get distracted very easily, especially with our egos and our emotions, like this kid just said something that he insulted me. This this little young and I don't know what he knows the how can I put it yet? He knows everything about nothing. That little punk, you know. I'm trust me, I am channeling the frustrated parent for a second. Um, but look, it doesn't work. You're just making the situation worse in general. I know it's easier said than done. To have some of that experience, I could kind of transfer to this conversation. And of course, I babysit teenagers from time to time within the family, and you know they go through their thing. And I have adopted different communication style. Like the first one, I try the jerk style, just don't bother me. I don't want to talk to you. That pushes them away further. Then there is the kind, somewhat clingy one. They get annoyed. You got to find a balance in that because you can't be too close to them. You also can't be too distant for them. It creates a dysfunctional dynamic. I mean, generally speaking, there's so many nuances. We don't got time to go through all the nuances. I'm just giving you just a simple breakdown. And I try all of them. Of course, a moderate approach. Let them have their room for their independence, and then leave a little room for dependence when they need it. You know, and I think for me that's what for me. I don't know if you want to add just to spice it up and polish it. I'm open to it. You're the expert in this field.
Well, I think about two things. First, every behavior is in alignment with needs, and oftentimes at this age, a younger age, they're not aware of really what they need, or they don't know how to express it. So with the lack of communication comes that frustration of I don't know how to express my needs, one, and two, I don't think my needs will be met because I can't express it. And that's where all the emotion comes up. So, and they are more highly sensitive, which is actually a plus. They're more sensitive to this world because during this day and age, or this time, this developmental stage, they're trying to figure out life. They're trying to navigate it. So nature has turned up their sensitivity with chemicals. The other thing I was going to say is self-determination theory. There are three things. It has to be self-directed, right? Autonomy. The second is mastery. They have to see themselves improving in it. and it has to be relevant. So it has to be relevant to what they want. So a lot of people tune out other people if they don't feel as if it's something they choose, if they're being controlled by something else, if they don't see themselves growing in it. That's why school is turn off for a lot of people at this age. And then if it they don't see why, they don't understand why this is related to me. When you understand those three things and you meet other people, regardless of whatever level they're at, teenagers, kids, or adults, I think that's where we get a lot of conflict. And nothing's wrong with conflict. Conflict just exposes where we're not having our full expression. And in communication, we say there's conflict in every relationship. That doesn't define the relationship. What defines it is how do we manage the conflict? How do we deal with it? So yeah, when you have those things in mind, I got a little bit of wisdom here. You learned how to not get caught up so much in it, but you learn how to rock with it so that other people can develop as well.
And you stubborn parents, yes, I'm calling you out. Are you listening? Are you listening? No, all right, let me be serious. This is some gold here, people. There's some gold. And trust me, and even as adults, some of us, well, actually a lot of us, I think we will never fully master communication. It's a lifelong process. Especially when it comes to, I like how you put it, conflict is this expression that's not fully developed, articulated, and two is just disagreeing on something until they figure out those details of what it is until they iron it out. It becomes like a nice flat paper. I'm using paper analogy. It's all crumpled up right now because they all try to peel it out together. And even though they start at opposite sides, or maybe even the same side. Sometimes it can be the same side. You get into conflict. Wherever it is, you have to go through the motions until they reach a fine point. That's beautifully put. Listen here, especially for you parents. I already said this podcast is not for minors. If they're listening to it, it's your fault. Remember, your fault, parents. Yeah, it's like the umpteenth time I've blamed you. If they're listening to this, they might learn something, ironically. And you know, I'm going to be a hypocrite in my own rule for a second. Let the minor listen to this podcast. No matter what, very adult subjects that I think their minds, for the most part, are fully developed. You know, I've met very intelligent 16, 17-year-olds that are mature beyond their years of development. It's like, wow, this kid's me like a dummy. Great. Shot at the ego. But it's wonderful because they've shown remarkable growth there, and I'm shocked in a good way. Wow. But for me, of course, the Eagles only hurt for like 2 seconds. I said, you know what? It's actually great. That's very phenomenal. And hopefully this kid could lead other kids to that enlightenment. At least that's my hope. I'm a little bit of idealist on certain things. So, and then I think, this is great. Listeners, hope again, just jot it down or something. Create, I don't know, a meme to make it memorable. Because this is some valuable stuff here. I mean, I'm learning here too as a host. Just because I'm a host, I don't know everything. Just trying to guide this conversation to be as most productive as it could be in such a limited time. So, with that said, let me just move on to the next question unless you have anything you want to add.
Yeah,
All
I'm
right.
ready.
So, this is a good one regarding the team. When does the team go through its withdrawals? And sometimes we don't differentiate. They're just doing that because they really want to be alone, just away from the parents, or there's a deeper issue that he or she is going through, but doesn't know how to express it well or articulate it very well. Maybe they are ashamed. I mean, what signals should parents watch out for just to navigate that difficult situation?
Yeah. If you notice that your teen is pulling away at home, this might be very natural. I will say before I say that my response here, check with a professional. All right. So this is not advice for your home, but if you feel as though their safety is in need to be looked at, check a professional. Um, The response to that is if they still have relationships and connections at school and at your place of worship or outside of school at the park and so on, then you may not need to worry as much. It's when they start shutting down their social connections in all spheres of their life and start to self isolate from everything. That's a red flag that goes up. But if they're at home and they're isolating, I mean, it could just be they're they need some mental space to process what they want. There are other ways inside the show up framework that I do have where you can open up communication. But yeah, if they're doing it across the board in all their social interactions. So that means go to school, ask the teacher if they're connecting with others, ask other adults inside your pod or other adults in their life. Because here's one thing worth noting: you're not expected to do it alone. When we look at human development, we develop in pods, parent pods. It's called alloparenting. There's a book called Mothers and Others that explains this. But we should have other trustworthy present adults inside their lives. This could be your parents, other parents. This could be adults, coaches, and so on, or teachers.
I think I want to add a quote. I think it takes a village to raise a child.
It takes
That's
a village to raise a child, and it takes a village to support a parent.
yeah,
Yeah,
I like that. So that new quote. I hope no one has that quote. Maybe you should
it's a
copyright it or
remix.
something.
It's all good. It's out there. It's out there now.
Uh, Listen, well, he has it. If you take that call, I will call you out right now, okay? I don't care if it's even a few days before I said, nah, I had this during this recording. I got the timestamp, I got the receipts right here. I will defend him on that one. Believe me, I actually would. Enough of me trying to start a petty beef with the quote. Talk about development here. See, I'm trying to be self aware here. I'm trying to not cause any conflict. All right. But I like to have a little fun here, unless a
You're
person's
all
too
good.
sensitive. Uh, yeah, I mean that's profound advice. See where to isolate. Is it just at home, or is it all spheres of of interactions? Yeah, it is hot, and for some reason I'm not sweating today, which is shocking because I'm a
It's all
sweater
good.
too. I'm not going to
I'm
censor
I'm
that and clean that up.
I'm just
Uh,
shining. I just noticed the lights and I'm just shining. I'm like, oh man, that's all right. It's all
yeah,
right. We still show up.
yeah. Nah, no, you're fine. You're fine. Um, so the final question I have here, actually, before I do that, you want to add anything else?
Um, life supports those who support life. So if you feel like you need support, look for it. And I know I'm just saying look for it, but right now, depending on when this is released after summer, I'll have some workshops on my website in regards to two things: how to help your preteen find their identity and mapping out your family's virtues and values. And the second thing is how to nurture your preteen's potential during the digital age, because digital, as the name of this podcast shows, is the digital landscape is changing how our preteen's brain develops, and there is an approach to it that can actually help um, solidify your preteen's identity using tech as opposed to being abused by tech. So I'll have those two workshops up on my website, and that'll be in the show notes and everything. I just wanted to let the audience know that. Yeah.
Yep, social media has really changed. Yeah, brain development and how we talk and communicate. Me, I didn't want to believe it, but studies now coming out that I think it reshaped the brains in some sort of way and how we interact doing that. This is why kids are communicating in a way, and even teenagers communicating in a way that we more established generations are just not used to. What the heck is this? Yeah, well, let's look to social media for that, and there's ways we got to combat it because the tools that we had in 1990 is not going to work today. Let's be very, very clear.
If the to say it in a more digestible way, you're absolutely right,
Mhm.
Elias. What happened in 2012? We noticed an uptick inside the mental crisis that's happening in the developed world. And what they noticed was, or I'll say like this: we are the stories we tell ourselves. When you have social media and you're having a stream of stories being constantly bombarding your mind, you really can't form your own identity, or your identity is being formed on the other side of a screen. You're starting to form your identity in likes and what you think is important, i.e., your values, on what's happening on the screen of what's being told to you. Now, the question is, when that screen closes, who are you? If you can't answer who you are when that screen closes, how will you ever deal with the stressors of life? Because the way we deal with the stressors of life is by saying, I am. So we know where we want to push back. And in that pushing and pulling, that's where the tension of life is, and that's how you develop. But if you don't know who you are when that screen closes, how are you going to develop? And that's what causes that anxiety, or that the crisis that's happening on with social media now. There's a book by I forget the author at the moment, but the book is called The Anxious Generation, and he talks about the numbers there. And actually, that's what the workshop is about. And we look at where the cutoff point is, and actually actionable steps we can take to counter this. And it starts with a strong identity. And that's why at the top of this, I always say there's no greater privilege than to be who you are. And I say, I see your color, I see your religion, I see your however you want to represent yourself, and it's all welcome. And you know what? It might rub me the wrong way. But like Rumi said, if we avoid everything that rubs us the wrong way, however will we be polished? And that's what I'm all about. I'm like, hey, bring yourself. And I have dignity for you. You hold dignity for me. Let's see if we're in alignment, and let's get it. Yeah.
Yeah, there's those I won't align with. Anyone who wants to really spread legit hate and low IQ stuff, but I'm not gonna go there. Unless as you know that already. Those are ones I'm just gonna probably just cut off because I believe maintain peace through strength as a last resort.
Hmm.
Okay, that's just my hard position. Do I like to get there? No. Do I enjoy doing it? Of course not. There's times that you gotta draw that line to protect not just yourself, also those around you who look up to you for either protection, guidance, what have you, especially for adults. So there's just certain things that you won't allow. So that's what I'm going to say about that. Because if you just be too tolerant of everything, not talking about like religions and skin colors, things like that. I'm talking about low vibration. Yes, I'm using spiritual terms, but I mean by someone who's acting a fool, okay, and someone who's being disrespectful and just be very, very difficult, and you got to draw the line. But that's all I'm gonna say for that because, well, to be honest, we're pretty limited time. I like to go deeper in that, and there's actually one question. It actually leads to the next question.
Go for it.
As the preteens are forming their identities, they want to challenge authority, and that could be the parent, the teacher, coach, even the police. Who, God forbid, it doesn't end violently, because sadly some of them has. Let's be honest. You know the examples of some of them. I'm not going to talk about them, but you know the names. You know the names, especially the high-profile ones. How can parents maintain? How can I put this? How can parents establish and enforce the rules even without creating this warlike adversarial dynamic?
Yeah, yeah. So that's why I work with preteens and nurturing their potential from this early stage, because a stitch in time saves nine. That is just to say, if you put in a lot of work here to be regulated, one, and then to establish trust from here, when that mistrust arises, you could be able to deal with it. Um, that's the strategy. The actual tactic to do it, there are many, but one I'll tell you now is, as kids start to become more autonomous, you give trust to them, and you trust them to set up the rules, regulations, and consequences. The reason we have rules and regulations, self-regulation, it's to actually help in our own development. But nobody likes rules being imposed upon them. That's why it starts with your identity of your virtues and values of what's important to you. And now I'm going to invite you into setting up the rules for what you want to get in life. And when I allow you to help, and you're not going to set up all the rules because, again, we're dealing with preteens here. And even with teenagers, this is how we used to do it in the classroom. If you have some student voice, student choice, or you have some say in the rules, when eventually the consequences come, this is what you decided. This is what you said you would do. And I'm holding you up to that because the question is this the type of person you want to be? And what that looks like in the household is, yeah, let's walk through the rules of what we want to get. Like, what do you want? You've established that because it's in alignment with your values. And we're speaking to the highest part of you. When I say your virtues, it's the part of which a beautiful expression of yourself. Okay, we got that. What rules are we going to put in place for us to get that? Now, I'm here to support you in meeting those rules. And even when we fall short of them, we know how to repair and reconnect. But when you have the person with some buy-in in the rules of what they want to live and how they want to show up, then they tend to follow them more. And it's not the authority of putting it on them, but it's helping them keep to their word of what they said. And because you're trusting them a bit, they learn to trust themselves. And that's actually where confidence comes from. Confidere, with the trust. Because now you trust your word to meet your rules of what you said.
Hear that? Let them go through the journey. Let them pick it, and I like that. This is your identity, who you want to be. You want to be A. Try to follow these things that matches that identity. I I'm just gonna throw a weird one. If you want to, if you care about the environment, I know it's gonna sound lefty to some of you. Just chop the political nonsense for a second. You want to clean the environment? You're not gonna throw the trash everywhere. You're not gonna, I don't know, just throw the ice cream in the middle of the street. That's going against your identity, right? And you trust them to do that, so just give them the guidance instead of just saying, "No, don't do that. Don't do this. Throw the ice cream out." I said,
You know,
They not trusting me. Yeah, go ahead.
one of the quickest tips that I've heard, a child psychologist say one time, he was like, he got from his mother. And when he used to behave in a certain way, and if you're exhausted and so on, his mother would just say to him, "Is this the type of person you want to be?" And you don't say it in again a demeaning way. Maintain the dignity of the person, but let them know the path and trajectory you're on is your choice, and you're allowing the person to own whatever experience they're having. Now, I may not support you in some expressions, and that's fine because I acknowledge you to be a whole person. And in those ways of where it's in alignment with well-being, because I hold my values too, and I'm going to be a trustworthy person in your life. I am working for your well-being. But is this the type of person you want to be?
Make them reflect. They develop those trust muscles, that confidence. I, I like that. I think that's what a lot of the adversarial things that parents still want to be in control, and so they're too forceful to take it personally. And then of course, the preteen and the teenager was challenged back and said, "I'm not a little kid anymore. Stop treating me like I'm 5." I think that's a lot of that conflict breeds from. But sure, not all of them, but a vast majority. I mean, assume this is a normal, semi-dysfunctional communication, not family, just communication. Just want to be clear. Not calling you dysfunction. Trust me, that's a whole other thing, and I'm not going to go there with you. You know who you are, and all that good stuff. And with that, is there anything you want to add before I wrap this up?
Um, yeah, if you want to get in touch with me, learn more, uh, you could check my site out, marcushiggs.com. I'll have some workshops up there relevant to the topics we talked about today. And it's been a pleasure, Elias, excuse me. Yeah.
Oh no, you got my name right. Just let me yourself correct there. Remember, the show up framework stands for S, starts with strong identity. All action starts with identity. And then H, hold space for collaboration. That's for critical thinking and collaborative problem solving. O, open up for communication. Pass on values without being preachy. Parents, they preach too much. Easier said than done for some of them. I like that. I get that. It's a red. I think a lot of them screw up on that. So that's just me. I personally like the color. And then W, wander and explore this world together. Project-based living. And up, unveil potential together. Of course, from extra details about his workshop, go to marcushiggs.com. I just got to read this part right here. So I'm going to just repeat this again. So marcushiggs.com. All right. That's marcushiggs.com. Check him out. He has a beautiful website. He's friendly. He wants to talk to you. Okay. So, yeah, I got to throw that in there. It's a very beautiful website. It's an easy website to follow through. It's very visual. If you're a visual person, you'll like it. It's not very wordy. All right. For some of you who just think websites are too wordy, too lengthy, get straight to the point. I tried the website myself, so give it a shot. I don't want to hear you got super ADHD or you don't got time for that. No, you're just not putting the time for it, okay? Let's just be very, very real. Get in touch with him. He's going to have workshops. He got stuff going on. The time, once this episode's released, just go in there. Just do what you need to do, especially if you have a very difficult dynamic with your preteen. And I'm sure you allow preteens to join the workshop too, right? I'm assuming that's a yes.
I work with parents of preteens, meaning, yeah, you know what it is? It's personal development, really, using the thing that's most relevant to the person, which is their child. And that's what it is. I mean, the preteens can join if they want to, but I'm helping parents understand the preteens. I'm like an advocate for the preteen to say, this is what they're thinking about. This is what they're doing. Yeah.
Okay, well, preteens is optional for you, so you can still play around if you want. He's not putting you in the leash. This is more for the parent, especially if they want to grow and improve their communication. So that's all I'm going to say for that. And I'll link all his social medias as well. Whatever social media he has, I'm going to link it as well. So get in touch with him. Okay? He's a cool dude. Just heard his interview. He's wise. And what the cool kids say, he's based. Okay? Based. Yes, I don't care if you call me a new boomer. I really don't care, you preteens and you young adults. I don't care. I'm using your terminology so you could get me, all right? Meet you halfway, okay? And stop doing that digital cloud chasing as well. Communicate with the real world, and then you can communicate with your little digital. So, all right, enough of me yapping and lecturing y'all. I'm being preachy. Don't listen to me. Listen to Marcus at this point. I'm
Listen
losing
to yourself,
it.
man. I trust the wisdom that's with them. They all good. They all good.
So, all right, let me stop fooling around. So, I gotta wrap this up. So, for wherever you're listening to this podcast, you have a blessed day, afternoon, or night.